Okay, what we're going to do right now is we'll continue with our tour. We did functions, continued last time. Now we're going to do multiple results. So it says here, a function can return any number of results. When we experiment with the swap, we made this new function called swap in our program. So first, I want to show you how this is done. There's some use cases we have for it. Now I have the file that we did before. We'll come back to this. You can comment this out or copy and paste this. I want to start a new program from scratch to show you how this is done. And then we'll implement this into our app. Okay, so first, package main. We're going to import, see that, format, package, and that the main function that we write and usually if I look over here, we have a basic hello program, beginning of every tutorial. But here we're going to do something a little bit different. So let's try this out. We have hello world. I run my app. Sure enough, wait. Okay. I'll run this again. So I forgot to erase something. Okay, hello world. But there's more we can do here. And we could have multiple results instead of this hello. That's printing out this string. So we can make another function. We can call it inside a function. This, for instance, is called swap. We can name it anything. We call it swap. We have an X, and we have a Y, a string. And we have a string. So we're defining what this is, what we're going to change this into. We'll return Y and X. So it takes X and Y and returns this. It swaps this out and returns Y first and X first. So I'm going to leave this here, but to show you how it will change something different, we'll print out this. So to show you how this would change something different, I'll use the swap function on this program. So right now I run this again. Hello world, that works. Now, I have A and B, two variables. And then I'm going to call this function inside the main function, swap. And then I'm going to write this hello world again, but this time it's going to change. It's going to change the order of this. So I run this again. So it says A declared but not used. So before showing you this error, before we call this out, we have to declare it. We have to use it. So let's print. And this time we'll print A and we'll print B. And these are two strings. So I run this program. Okay, we have hello world and we have world hello. All right, now that's one example. Now I'll comment this. You can copy this code or you can save it in another location. Now we put this somewhere here. And I want us to play around with another thing that we need to use the swap. So we know how to change this, but in order to add this to our program, we need to make another change. Let's bring this back. I want to bring this back. I just want to change this somewhat. Okay, so we have a string, but what if we try to change something between an integer and a string? To do that, we're going to bring back another package. This is called string conversion. And this time we have two strings still. But here we're going to change some things so that we can change, you can take numbers instead of just strings. So, because our program that we made before took numbers in, so that's what we want. So I want to create a variable called int. And also want to call this string, this is string. Let's define them both as strings. I'll take a variable called int, and I will say that this int is 50. Okay, and we're going to have two ways to show this. Okay, we'll go through this. I have 50 here, and then we're going to change this into a string called string int +1. Call this string 1, number string, number int 1, number string 1. And this is going to be, we have swap here. We're going to call the struct combo that we got over here, string conversion, on this function. So we have number int, which is 50. And now we're going to take this and we're going to change this into a string so we can read it with other strings. Okay, int. So this is a method inside this library. And we need to declare what int this might be, which is 64. And then we need to call what we're calling the number int. And we're supposed to give a number for certain integers. Okay, this 10 here, it goes with this represents integer base 10 and the ASCII string. And it's not important right now, but what the ASCII is basically a group of 7 numbers and a set of numbers and codes that are in computers. So basically, computers use numbers. So there's a certain group, an order of numbers that converts characters and letters into information that they can understand. So we're using 10 in this case to keep this an integer, or to say that this is an integer, and we're going to move it back to a string. So that's the most more complex way to do it, but we have a simpler way of doing this, which we'll show you. Okay. So A, B, we'll call swap at this again. And this time we'll say we have a string. This number is now a string. So say hello. Call the string. Then we will print format print A. Okay, let's see what we get when we run that. Okay, 50 hello. So it's the swaps it and print it backward. Now that works. Now this is kind of complicated and long to remember. So we have an easier way of doing this using the iota method. And I'll show you that. Let's make another number. I'm call it number int 2. And we'll call this 1000. Number int string 2. Let's call this 60. Number string 2 equals correct string iota. A, B, swap. We'll say the same thing. What's going on here is that we have an int here that we can't print out this an int and a string in the same line over here. What we can do is we can take an int, we can convert it to a string. So we before we had to do format int, then we had to use the integer, and we need to call the integer on this. And we also need to say, talk to computer and say, hey computer, this is referring to an integer, please turn this into a string. But right now, we can just use this, and this is shorter. And it does a lot of the work for us. So let's run this. Oh, forgot one thing. Let's run it. Good. So it's a 50 hello, 60 hello. Perfect. Now that we have understand how to do that, let's continue to our original program. Okay, so before we made a little calculator, we can add, divide, multiply stuff. Now we're going to add some other things to it. So we can swap some information and use the swap function, which we built. And let's make a function that will say that this is dollars or something like that. We'll add a dollar sign. So what we will want to do over here is underneath multiply, we will create a swap function. And this is just something that we're going to use just to test out, how to fit in this swap function in our program. Return y and x. So now okay, so swap function over here, and let's do something with this variable over here called payday 2. When we run this program, so we stock at 5 stocks and 5 6 quantities, and it gives us this. You have now bought 1 more shares. Now you have this much. So this is payday 2. So let's take payday 2 and let's do something with this over here. This is just not the swap function. So I have AB, okay, and it's going to equal dollars. Actually, before that, we need to set payday to something. So payday is an integer right now. We want to turn it into a string. So we just call it string 1. We'll have it equal. So we added it here. Good. Format int. Let's do something easy. Let's use iota because that's easier. Yeah. Well, ITOA, and then we have payday 2. Okay. And then we are going to, so we have a string variable here. So now this is now a string, and we can swap it because we can print it out over here, a string and an integer. We want to be able to swap them together in this function that we have swap over here. So we have A, B, and 2 parameters. We have over here X, A, and B. And we're going to call the swap function. Let's print this out first so you can see it. We gotta set this. Dollars. That's one. Okay. Now we can print it out. Okay, payday type is int. So I need to convert this. Right. It says we cannot use type float as an argument. So this was a float, so we can't use it that way. So let's try to use it the other way. Format int 64 I 10. Let's test that. I is not defined. This is the payday 2. Let's see what happens now. Okay, since it's working, good, our program works. It says $604. So what happened is we had this int, this float. Yeah, these are floats. And we took this float and then we turned it, we called it as an int, and then we turned it into a string. We printed this as it is. Now let's test out the swap function that we made. And what we'll do is swap AB, and now we'll swap these two things around. Let's see it again. Five. We have $140. We have $140. So we swap things around, and we were able to add this into our program. And we learned a little bit. We learn more when we take small little things and we try to add them to pre-existing programs and see the complications that we encounter. Okay, that's it for today. See you next time.